This is NBA Now by Chat Sports. I am Chase Sr. As for what's coming your way on today's show, another mailbag where I take all of your questions about NBA free agency, the NBA draft, NBA offseason, and a whole lot more. We open up the forum to you to join the conversation, start the conversation. So with that, let's start answering your questions as well as your best takes. We begin with this one coming in from Evan Hinders, one of our loyal subscribers. Be like Evan and subscribe to the channel today. Magic trade Jonathan Isaac for Patrick Williams, and they swap first-round picks. Jonathan Isaac is coming off an injury-plagued season. Patrick Williams missed a lot of last year. Jonathan Isaac, I'm pretty high on him. Really good athlete who I think figures in nicely to the Magic's plans. If I were to want one on my team, if I were building a roster, probably would actually go Patrick Williams, though. I think he's the better defender, maybe more of a reliable three-point shooter, but I don't think you can go wrong with either Jonathan Isaac or Patrick Williams, two very good young players. I think the big thing there, Evan, as you put your GM hat on, it's the first-round pick swap. We pivot to this one from Loyalty. LeBron James to the Bulls. Look, his future is uncertain. 1 year remaining on his deal, and there have been rumblings that he might not sign that contract extension in the future. So will LeBron go to Chicago? I don't think so. I don't think he wants to be in the shadows of Michael Jordan. He wants to chase his 6 NBA championships, but maybe do it outside of the Windy City. And you think about the Bulls right now and the current construction of that roster, they're paying big-time money to Zach LaVine, Lonzo Ball. We'll see what his future is with that problematic knee injury. DeMar DeRozan making a lot of money. Vooch still on that squad. So I don't know if they'll be able to afford LeBron James unless they traded somebody away. Boston Benny, should the Celtics trade for Eric Gordon? I actually think that the Celtics are pretty set in terms of shooting. That Danilo Gallinari deal, one of the biggest steals during the entire offseason, $6 million per year for a still high-level three-point maker is sensational. I think he took less because he understood, look, the Celtics have a need for a shooter. I can go there, get a lot of run as either a starter or a bench player. I'm interested to see what Ime Udoka does with that starting five because you have to figure out what's going to go down between Malcolm Brogdon as well as Marcus Smart. But you had Danilo Gallinari. You brought in Malcolm Brogdon. So I'm not sure that the Celtics going to need to trade for Eric Gordon. He's also very, very expensive. So I'd rather go with the value of Gallinari as compared to going after another shooter, which kind of clogs up the rotation to a certain degree with Eric Gordon, who's set to make a base salary of about $20 million this upcoming season. Now, I want to put you to the test here in the comment section. I want you to name a player that could become a first-time All-Star at the NBA level in 2022-2023. Who's it going to be? Let us know right now. My vote, Tyrese Maxey. The basketball GOAT, where do you think Kevin Durant will go? Well, look, I think the Phoenix Suns no longer in the playing for Kevin Durant's services. Why? They bring back DeAndre Ayton, and because they signed him to that big deal, he cannot be traded until January under the current rules of the NBA. So you take them out. Which other teams could trade for KD? Miami Heat, still very interested, but you can't include Bam Adebayo in that deal because you can't have two players who both signed their rookie max contract extensions. And both Bam and Ben Simmons have done that. So you'd have to find a way to facilitate a Ben Simmons trade elsewhere if you wanted to bring in Bam Adebayo. Now, if you were able to trade away Kevin Durant for Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, future picks, and Bam, I think that helps your rebuilding process. But maybe Miami, New Orleans Pelicans, if they want to include, a Zion Williamson or, a Brandon Ingram. Zion just signed that max, so he can't be traded for a little while either now that I think about it. So the market for KD and a trade there, it's been slow up to this point, and we'll see what happens. But I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility he goes back to Brooklyn, basketball GOAT. Jarrell, the Jazz are on the rebuilding mode. What about Jordan Clarkson? Look, if they trade away Donovan Mitchell, I think they could trade away Jordan Clarkson. I think they could trade away some of the other pieces on that roster. That would signal a full rebuild. And if I'm rebuilding a franchise and I trade away D-Mitch, I trade away Rudy Gobert, I'm trying to just do what OKC has done, stockpile a bunch of young talent, get some future draft picks, and rebuild organically, especially for a team in Utah that's in a smaller market. It's not really a destination free agent city where big-time free agents want to go to, so you're kind of forced to build within the draft. I think that's the best route for Utah, and if you're rebuilding, why not trade away Jordan Clarkson, who's one of the best six-man scorers in the NBA, to get players back or get picks back? Make sure you give us a follow on Rumble. Sometimes we put videos exclusively on Rumble that you can't find anywhere else. And sometimes during our live shows, like today, we go live exclusively on Rumble. Give us a follow, rumble.com/NBA now for more exclusive content. And sometimes, because Rumble doesn't censor anybody, we can let some curse words fly and get wild. Jay and Dorian Stevenson, they've really become loyal subscribers of late, tuning into all of our shows. Greatly appreciate it. If Miami is unsuccessful in acquiring KD or Donovan Mitchell, what direction should they go in improving their roster? Do you think Melo and Boogie are and should be options? You brought back Dwayne Dedmon, who is the backup for Bam Adebayo, so I don't think that Boogie Cousins really makes all that much sense. Carmelo Anthony as a bench option, yeah, maybe. You brought back Martin, who's a really good guy who can come in off the bench, figure out what's up with Duncan Robinson. Can he get him back on track? You're looking at a Miami team that doesn't really need to do much if they can't acquire KD or Donovan Mitchell, because they just made it to the Eastern Conference Finals, a Game 7 with Boston, and that game could have gone either way. Imagine if Jimmy Butler would have hit that pull-up three in the guts of that game. So if you don't land KD and Mitchell as you go big fish hunting, that Miami Heat roster in pretty solid shape. I talk about those deals that they made. They brought back Victor Oladipo, so a really good roster. Hopefully Kyle Lowry can stay healthy, because last year he really wasn't, and you have the best coach, or at least one of the best, in Eric Spoelstra and Pat Riley, the Godfather. Scotty Lewis, which backup center should the Celtics sign in free agency? Thanks, and go Celtics. Right now, the best options, thin. LaMarcus Aldridge, DeMarcus Cousins, Hassan Whiteside is still out there as well. The center market really not all that deep. So when you look at the Celtics, they don't really have a lot of options out there in free agency. Enes Kanter Freedom, I don't think they're going to bring him back. He's certainly up there, though, among the top centers still available. Joel Santos, what is a fair trade for the Knicks to grab Donovan Mitchell? Look, if I'm Utah, I want R.J. Barrett. I think that he can become a really good number 2 or 3 on a high-level playoff team. So I want him in a deal. Obviously, the Knicks have 8 future first-round picks. Let's say I'm going to ask them for 4 or 5 of those. If they're not willing to include R.J. Barrett, I'm going to go up with the first-round picks, because Donovan Mitchell is a really valuable player who's still young, who is a walking bucket. So let's say no R.J. Barrett, okay? 5 first-round picks, Quentin Grimes, Emmanuel Quickley, Obi Toppin, like all those players can be a part of that deal. And that's why the Knicks are involved in these conversations, because they can put together really good trade packages for Donovan Mitchell with or without R.J. Barrett, because of the players that they have on the roster as well as the draft picks that they have at their fingertips. Who would you rather have over the next 5 years, operating under the premise and knowing that Kevin Durant, 34 years old, KD for Kevin Durant, DM for Donovan Mitchell? A lot of people are going to go KD. If you go DM, I like the boldness there. Lucas Zhang, the Warriors could use another big guy. Should they sign Kai Sotto or give him a shot? I'll tell you this about Kai Sotto. I had named him an NBA draft sleeper. I've watched some of the international tape of when he was playing at the NBL level in Australia, which is one of the best international leagues in the world. He's a solid player. Now, I understand why he didn't get drafted. My prediction was that he was not going to get selected. But for a 20-year-old big who has a nice array of skills, I think that Kai Sotto belongs on an NBA roster. Look, if Taco Fall Boban Marjanovic can play in the NBA, I think Kai Sotto can as well. Solid shot blocker, solid athlete. He's developing that outside shot. Him on the Warriors, I know with that Filipino audience on Warriors today, they would love it. There's no question about that. I was surprised that he elected not to play NBA Summer League. They broke records for daily audiences of 11,000 people in Las Vegas. Display your skills in front of national television audience and in front of people and show that you're worthy of playing at the NBA level. There's no way that Kai Sotto didn't have opportunities to play in the NBA Summer League. For him to not take on those opportunities, I didn't like it. But Kai Sotto on any team in the NBA, he could be a solid tryout option or two-way deal. Navy, too crazy. Rockets will be one of the most competitive teams in the West to play against young, get out, and run, and pesty defense. If we see a step up from KPJ, Green, Şengün, we can add to the heat of the West. So Navy, too crazy. He's high on the Rockets, and I love what they've been able to do throughout the past 2 off seasons. What they did 2 drafts ago, very impressed. What they did this past draft, impressed. I mean, Jabari Smith, I think, is going to be a stud. Everybody was freaking out about the handle. My scouting evaluation, if you watch us here at Chat Sports, I told you, his weakness is the handle. He needs to develop it, but he does everything well. He can get a shot off from anywhere. He is going to be a premier potential first-team defender within his first 3 years. Really good athlete, really good instincts as well. He's going to be a stud. So what the Rockets have been able to do and compile on that roster, I've been impressed with. Josh Christopher, he was really good throughout the NBA Summer League. So I agree with you, Navy Too Crazy. The Rockets are going to surprise some people. They're going to be one of those NBA League Pass teams who are going to be a fun and entertaining watch night in and night out. Are they going to make the playoffs? No. But are they going to improve from last year? I think drastically. Now, some might say still that the Rockets going to be the worst team in the NBA. Who do you think the worst team in the NBA is currently? Is it the San Antonio Spurs? That's my vote. Get your votes in right now. Blake of the year. If Nerlens Noel gets let go by the Pistons, should the Sixers go for a reunion? I'd love Nerlens Noel on Philadelphia. They have had frauds as backup centers for Joel Embiid. Straight up stiffs. I mean, the fact that Greg Monroe, DeAndre Jordan have been playing in big-time playoff series, that just cannot happen. And Nerlens Noel didn't live up to the lofty expectations when the Sixers had originally drafted him, but he's a really active, long player who has value in today's NBA. No, he's not a shooting big, but in terms of switching on the defensive end, he's great. Good rim protector. Also, because he's so long, plays the passing lanes and comes through with a bunch of steals. He would be the ideal backup center for Joel Embiid. Now, is he a little bit expensive? No question about it, but you paid decent money to Andre Drummond last year. If you're Philadelphia, if you're confused by Nerlens Noel with the Pistons, he got traded on draft night to Detroit with Alec Burks so that the Knicks could clear up some money to sign Jalen Brunson. His future, a little bit uncertain in Detroit as they go with the youth movement. Do they want Nerlens Noel? If they cut him loose, then, my goodness, Philadelphia, they should scoop him right up. Before we hop on out of here in our mailbag, if you haven't subscribed already, do so right now. It's youtube.com/chatsportstv. Or even easier for you, just hit that red sub button down below. And as always, thanks for watching the show.